The recording has started.
Okay, everybody, 9:01 p.m. on the East Coast. I am happy to be alive and well. Greeting my friends who are supporters of the call each week. Love having you here. It is Tuesday, May 16th, 2019. Tonight we're going to be talking about perspective in general. Perspective, how we see things, how we see through things. Per and spec, to see through. And on my invitation tonight, you may recall that I wrote down three words there. They were depression, anxiety, and peace. And I don't know how many of you read those SMS texts and say, what the heck was he thinking when he wrote this? But the fact of the matter is, I'm always thinking about something to play with the minds of my friends, get them at least tuned in. And they say, well, maybe this would be a little bit different. Tonight, it's not more of the same. It's just a little different perspective. So anyway, we're going to be talking about depression, anxiety, and peace. So what I'd really like to do is I'd like to quote for you one of my favorites. And although I happen to be an Irish Catholic, a Christian indeed, I have spent many years studying not only our book, the Bible and the New Testament, but I've delved into quite a few little works out there that I'm impressed with, and one of them was written by Lao Tzu, or at least it was purported that he had written it. And he is the author of the Chinese work called the Tao Te Ching. Now, bear with me. We're going to connect all the dots here. But in my invitation, I used those three words. And what Lao Tzu said, this is thousands of years ago, so this is nothing new. Lao said, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. And if you are anxious, you are living in the future. And thirdly, if you are at peace, you are living in the present. And one of the reasons why I find that so applicable today is everyone living life. We're all living life, obviously, and life comes at us in many directions. All of it isn't pleasant. Some of it's downright disappointing and frustrating, and we've been down this road and thinking about that road. And, you know, during life, we spend a whole lot of time doing those things that Lao spoke about, several thousand years ago. And when we keep thinking about what we should have, could have, would have done, I could have been a contender, or oh my goodness, yada, yada. I don't know why I did that, or I don't know why I married her or him, or bought that car, or lived there. Oh my goodness. But if you're depressed, you're spending an awful lot of time living in the past. And if you're anxious, you're living in the future. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen to this? I don't have the money for that. I've been trying this for, such a period of time. And oh my God. And you go to bed and you can't even sleep at night. That's called anxiety. And then it finally says, if you're at peace, you're living in the present. Now, I want to refute that. I'm not so bold, nor am I that intelligent, but I've always been one who is a bit of an entrepreneur. I like to get in between things, and preneur is to start it. I like to get people thinking a little different way from this perspective. If you're depressed and you're living in the past, I would like to spin that and say, if you spend a little time thinking about the past, that is where you will derive both experience and wisdom. You're going to say, I remember doing that and I'll never do that again. You got to learn your history or it repeats itself. Or now that I've learned this, or I've been on this planet for 71 years, I better start sharing some of this experience, I call it, rather than wisdom. I don't bring that upon myself, but although I do have some. So we spin that depression into something else. Now, anxious about living in the future means that we're spending too much time worrying about what's going to happen. In today's world, if you're an entrepreneur, you get between and you start something different. You've got to be very, very optimistic about opportunity. We've spoken many times about America being the land of opportunity, and things happen for a reason. And, much of what we do today is based upon acceptance. I understand acceptance. If you don't accept what is, that is, then you're going to resent things. All the resentment and all the pain goes on the resenter. So we've got to eliminate that. What does this have to do with where we are? I'm getting there. And then the last thing is that if you are at peace, you're living in the present. That's really what I want to talk about today. Another one, contemporary philosopher that I've read extensively. He's a very interesting guy, a bit of a weird kind of person. Of course, anybody that's smart has got to be a little bit, eccentric. But I've got friends like that. They're so smart, they're almost eccentric. I can't even follow them. But Eckhart Tolle has written a book, or at least the last one that I read was Living in the Now. And it's all about this is all we have. And that's the message that we're in tonight on perspective. We all know who we are. The company's Nexel, and we're in the wealth and wellness business. Number one, we exist for the purpose of making people a lot of money so they can be beneficent. They can make good. They can do wonderful things. They can be philanthropists. They can buy things for others. They can give to those who have less. They can have that security in knowing that they're not going to lose their home or their car or go bankrupt or any of those other things. Not that those things are bad. It's part of this life that I keep on speaking about. But in the human condition, we take these things for granted. And when you stop and think about living in the now, one thing that Eckhart says is that if you are at peace, you're living today. And I am not Eckhart, and nor am I Hippocrates. I do my behavioral exercises with people, talking about the human condition. And tonight we talked a little bit about my friend Lao Tzu. And, here's where we've got to go. We've got to talk about what's happening now. And that introduction, which took me a few minutes, was all about the fact that what happened has already happened and it's gone, my friend. And what's about to happen is still before us, and we can't worry about it. But if we're going to live now, we can certainly be present in the now, and we can certainly be prepared in the now. This is the time for preparation. This is the time to get in between things. This is the time to start things. This is the time to be an entrepreneur. That's what all that means, en français. And I keep on thinking about this. I have these calls Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and most of you join me. And you might wonder where I'm coming from. I'm a pretty deep thinker. Although I'm a talker, I can go like crazy talking. But I do spend my time thinking about why is this and why is that, only to come to grips with it personally, because I have the challenges that you have. I'm disappointed in the speed at which things move at some time. Of course, I feel the need for speed. I'm a car guy. I love to go fast, and I am not bellicose, as they say. I always wish I was a fighter pilot, not to fight. I just want to fly in something that fast and knock things down. And it's just my energy. That's pretty much who I am. But I try to study these things, and I've tried it for a long, long time. I've been on the planet for a long time. Thank God, he's given me a great mind. I always quip that I have a mind like a steel trap. but it rusts. So I have to exercise it often so that it remains at least acute enough. So when I garner something from someone else while I'm reading, while other people are working, some of you are moms at home with children, and some of you have got your own businesses, and life comes at you in all directions. And I've been blessed with a great independent life, and I do spend my time studying these things so that I can share them with you all. And I hope you appreciate that. I'm not a martyr. It's just, it's my way of, paying it forward, if you will. And the more I think about some of these things that are thousands of years old, you already know my faith. I'm not I'm not a what you call a spiritual guy. I happen to be a Christian. So my roots are there. But I look at all of these things as they come up, and these things that impress me the most are the ones that strike home. Striking home in the vernacular is resonate. You know, inside of your heart, inside of your spirit, inside of your mind, these chords, it strikes a chord, it resonates something with you. And I'm trying to do this as your business development coach. I want some of the things that I say, and they're not me, I'm only the parrot who's repeating them to you. The great teachers of the past, we always focus upon a handful, but there are so many, and they weren't all wrong, actually. And each one of them imparts some incredible wisdom. So if I get an opportunity to share with you, I will. So what I want everybody to do is bag the past. It's over with. If you're spending too much time there and you're getting depressed, you're thinking too much about the mistakes you made and what you lost and what you should have, could have, would have done. I know I've done it before. The only reason why I'm still on the planet surviving is because I do my very best to move ahead. And I do not, by the way, worry about the future because, you know, I always tease myself. Anytime I ever lost a job, I found another one because that's what you do. And each time I found a job, I did better at the next one than I did at the one before. And same thing with relationships. You know, you might have found your soulmate. You spend years with that person. You may have had a family with them, and you know, the sun rose and set on that person, and then for some odd reason the chemistry separates. We're like branches on a tree. We're all on the same tree, but we grow apart. And my friend Khalil Gibran said so wisely one time, love is like the pillars of the temple. They stand together yet apart. And, you know, that resonates with me. It resonates with me because, you know, I had a divorce in 2000. And like the pillars of the temple, you know, I am very good friends with my ex, the mother of my children, and that didn't happen immediately. But I started to think about that, and I say, well, why does that happen? Well, if you're open to that, it does. And what we've got to be ready to do in this business is be open to what's coming. Wow, was that an introduction to what I'm not going to tell you tonight? But I got to give you a little taste. So we're talking about the present. What we read in the present was the article saying that this industry is going to explode. We're going to do $22 billion in 2022, which is right around the corner. You've heard it enough. I hope you've got that in your mind. But that's what we're reading in the present. That's what the expectations are. Many things can get in the way. It is unlikely, you know, unless we destroy the planet, and sometimes we're good at doing that. But 2022 is right around the corner. So what we have to do is live in the now. We've got to be prepared for the eventuality. And one of the reasons that I mention this again is that for several phone calls now that we've had, I have spoken with each of you, especially the new people that are coming on board, okay? And we've got a handful of them. I just love to hear Laura's voice. She sounds so enthusiastic down there in San Antonio, and Gary Dildine out there in California, and I can name them all. They've become my friends, and most of these people I haven't met, but it's as if they were sitting at my table today, and we were having a conversation. And they say, Bob, I really don't know what to do, and I don't know where to go, and but I'm excited to be here. Well, it all begins with the desire to change. That's why you're here. And you can sustain that presence by having enthusiasm. And that's that spirit within, that knowing that you're in the right place at the right time. That's where peace comes from. Because any one of you who are on the phone today, number one, we're alive. Number two, we've been blessed with great abundance. And part of that abundance is this opportunity. And the next thing is we just have to figure out how to grab it. And I keep on saying the only way that we're going to create this global footprint is by doing things differently as quickly as we can, because if we maintain the status quo, nice Latin, it is what it is. It's right here. That's all there is. Status quo, we're stuck. Okay? It's also another word for complacency. And I keep saying to myself, look, at the people who are just coming into the business, I don't ever want to poison them with, well, this didn't work, that didn't work, we were here, we did it for this long, I've said that enough. I'm at the point now where I've got to eat my own dog food. I've got to practice what I preach. I've got to practice what I've read and what the teachers who are far more brilliant than my dim light in this world is. So I start to say to myself, we've got to prepare ourselves for rapid change. And I used to say, let's not use the word change. It freaks out people in this industry. Well, I'm sorry, but it's time to get freaked out. $22 billion in 2022 will require some responsiveness, extreme responsiveness, where we've got to do things much differently than we're doing them today. And that is not a lecture. That is not negative. That is not a reprimand to anybody. I love everybody on the call. The important people are on this call because you're getting this word tonight. It's going to be recorded if you want to pass it on to anybody else. You just tell them to call the callback number. I don't even know it myself. It's on my phone. And hit pound, and you can hear it again. And say to one of your friends, I want you to listen to this character. Think if he's nuts. Tell me if he's nuts or if he's making a point. And then you can send your comments to bob@nextel.com. Go ahead, do it. They think you're crazy. I'll say that's fine. Get him on the phone. We'll talk to him for a minute. So anyway, here's how we got to prepare. In the next, I don't want to hold my feet to the fire, nor the company's. But in the very, very near future, it could be a matter of days. I know the way things get in the way from time to time. Maybe it'll be a week, but that so what? And if it's 2 weeks, so what? Just bear with me. We're living in the present. 2 weeks from now is not the future. I'm talking about the now, the business that we're in, anticipating this growth, what we've got to do. I am close enough. Well, I'm in the middle of it, actually, to the company and Steve and the rest of the team and the input that we're receiving from professionals who have been retained to give us these opinions. And, things are coming down the pipe that I believe, once again, will change the complexion of the company. Now, listen to me. Not so long ago, we said what we ought to try is eliminating the barriers to entry. And the barriers to entry are always, well, what does it cost to get in? That's $300. And that was a barrier for a lot of people. Well, now what do you got to do? Well, you got to spend $14.99. That's more than that. Everybody's making excuses. Enter the affinity group. If we are going to create a global footprint, if we are going to get our fair share, God wants us to have it. He's given us the talent. He's given us some of the people, and one heck of a start. We have got to realize that we can't worry about what it costs to come into a business. We have to appreciate what the return is for each of us who understand the business side of this. Because what it's all going to boil down to is a financial, it's a monetary transaction. It's a financial transaction. You put X amount of money in, you get X amount of money out. If nobody's got any money in this thing, nobody's got anything to lose. So a lot of people aren't going to do anything. Does that make sense to you? If there's no skin in the game, nobody has anything to lose. It's easy to walk away and say, the heck with that. I'm going to go to lunch today. Have a pizza and a glass of Cabernet. You know, they're going to do whatever the heck they do, or they're going to sit home and watch TV, which is even worse. Now, I'm not passing judgment on people. I just know that that happens to be the human condition. The people on this call do not suffer from the human condition of apathy or indifference or complacency. I don't believe so. Because you wouldn't be on the call. You wouldn't be listening to this stuff. So anyway, here we go. You stand by. Call to action tonight is this. It's a very, very important call to action. What we've got to do is we have got to start to talk to people. Do 2 a day. And even if you have to say the urgency call, let me play it out with you. I know Marvin's on the phone. I call up Marvin Marshall. I say, hey, Marvin, we've got to talk. When I say we've got to talk and I stop, he says, oh, what about? And I say, Marvin, you and I have been down the road a few times. In our minds, we've earned and lost millions of dollars, more millions than Marvin and I care to rehash. But he says, yeah, what's on your mind now? I have just found a way that we can make a financial transaction by using people who see the same thing, back to my affinity group. A bunch of people who are focused upon making money, doing good things for a lot of folks. There's nothing wrong with that. And he's going to say, well, what's it all about? And I may say to him, you know, whether you have it or you're not, does it make good sense? And if you put in X and you get back Y and it's 3 times X, would you do that? Yeah. Would you do it every month? Yeah. Do you know anybody who's at least at your social, not social, your financial status, or better than you? Somebody who's a go-getter, somebody who's, we used to call them hustlers. Today we call them builders. We call them elephant hunters. We call them a lot of things. But these are people who just see opportunity and say, man, I'm going to go for this. There are entrepreneurs out there who will sell their house to come up with $100,000 to buy a franchise. There are people out there that will sacrifice their kids' education, the money that they've saved for their children's college fund, and they're going to put it into a business, and they're going to go. Those are the people who are ultimately going to create this footprint for us. And you know, by the way, I was just those were arbitrary figures. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds of dollars. If you want to spend thousands, maybe we can do that too. But we've got to start looking at a way to get into the business. And it's not in the business about arguing who came in and did something and who did not. You know, one of the biggest pushbacks that I've ever heard in my years in this referral business was, you know, I don't like that space. I don't like that industry. And I'd say, well, why not? And they would say, well, because my income is dependent upon the efforts of others. And my wise answer is, well, that's not a worry if you get the right people. So I guess what we've got to do is prepare ourselves mentally for looking for people who want to take this to the next level. You can be you. You don't have to be great. You don't have to be pretty rich and smart. You don't have to be anybody. You just have to be you. And in the next couple of weeks, I'll tell you what, we're going to focus upon finding people that we're going to put into the entrepreneur slot. I know a friend, he's not on the call tonight, but he used to go to a bar, and and the bartender was a good-looking, crazy, overweight kid, by the way, that we all know today is Mark Cuban, who was a billionaire, right? And, I don't know what he was thinking when he was a kid, but he started thinking and thinking and thinking, and he moved it and he grooved it, and he got to be a billionaire. I don't care how many people on the phone want to be billionaires. I would like it. I don't know why, because if you've got a few $1 million and you've never had a few $1 million, that's a whole lot of money, believe me. But a couple $100 million takes the edge off. So I don't need to be a billionaire. But the fact is, there are people out there, and those people know people. And all we have to do is just start the prospect. So here's the bottom line. I want you to start to change. All the people on the call tonight, and call everybody else in the organization, and say, Nexcel's about to get into something that's like outrageous. I don't know what it is, but we were talking to my friend Bob Dorsey the other night. And even though we haven't met, I am your friend. You know that. I tell you I love you at the end of every phone call. And I do. So we're just going to change our approach. We have got to live in the present. Forget about the past. I don't care whether you have an up, down, lost, won, does not make any difference. And quit worrying about the future. Look at the future as a prize. And don't be anxious about it. Plot today. That's all we've got. So my philosophical bet for the night is we are in the right place at the right time. My friends, if you don't lose a little sleep over what I said tonight, then you weren't paying attention. The future is ours. It's waiting there in the land of opportunity. All we have to do is go out there and get it. We're going to help you do it. We're coming up with some absolutely outrageous connections and programs. And I would hate to see you miss that. I'm not going to miss it. I mean, I get a little bit nervous and jerky, too. I get a little disappointed just like everybody else. Plus, I've never been blessed with a whole lot of patience, but the older I get, the more I've got to have. Time flies by if you're anxious. So anyway, that's the end of my story for tonight. That is my story. I'm sticking to it. My friends, we have been blessed with great abundance, not the least of which happens to be this opportunity. And no matter what they all say about us out there, I love you all and always will. So start thinking about finding people. Write down a list of all the people that you know. Don't think about it. Write it down. I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to say, Laura, how many people did you write down? Yeah. Oh, you got 60. Beautiful. You and I can have fun with 60 people. Bargain? Let's dig for some deep ones. Alana, you know people out there. Let's start shooting for some bulls. We're going to need them. And if these bulls get to be the bulls that they are capable of being, you are going to win financially because you were the smart one who was prepared for the future, and you did it in the now. Thank you, Dr. Eckhart Tolle, for that little information. All right, my friends, I've eaten up a half an hour of your time on a Thursday night. My dog is sitting on my bed, all curled up. I can hear him breathing through my earphones here. So I'm going to do my usual routine and climb into bed by 10 o'clock, I'll be thinking about y'all. Believe me. We'll talk to you on Saturday. Might be a good call. We're going to give you more of the same. Maybe I'll have some more information, but it's coming. Good night, my friends.